Jon Moscot here with Blast Motion Baseball. Really excited to have everybody on this webinar today. We've got some awesome college coaches, some prestigious pedigrees in the room. Very excited to get some content out there and to talk through how you guys are using Blast today. I'd like to introduce Jordan Getzelman from Dallas Baptist University, Brett Thomas from Oregon University of Oregon, Dusty Napoleon from Northwestern University, and we have Max Gordon, who is in tandem the hitting coach at University of Michigan and also the hitting coordinator at Driveline up in Seattle. So we have an awesome group, like I said, and really excited to dive into what we are going to get into the meat here today. But first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everyone tuning in. We really appreciate you guys joining in and trying to work with us at Blast as we work with you through this COVID-19 and this whole situation. We're trying to push as much content as we can, share as much details about the product and where we're going and how we can help you the most here at Blast. Never hesitate to reach out to whether it's your account manager or anyone that's involved with us at our company. We are here for you, and we'd like to be a resource for you guys in this time. And just again, thank you. If you have questions today throughout this webinar, please submit those questions to our comment section. We will try to get to them throughout the webinar, and if we don't, we will respond to them afterwards. So again, I'd like to say thank you to everyone attending, parents, coaches, players, and we're really excited for today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself real quick and then hand the floor off to the people that we really care about, let them talk about Blast, hear what they have to say. Again, my name is Jon Moscot. I'm an account manager at Blast for the Midwest and the West Coast. I deal with key accounts. I played for the Cincinnati Reds for 9 years and pitched in the big leagues in 2015 and 2016. Got very interested in analytics and joined on with Blast a few months ago, and I'm very excited to be here. So, Jordan, why don't I hand you the floor and introduce yourself?
What's up, everybody? Jordan Getzelman from Dallas Baptist University. This is the end of my second year at DBU. Came on at the beginning of the 2019 season, fall of 2018. Yeah, just happy to be here, talk with these great guys. Appreciate John and everybody at Blast having me on.
All right, Brett.
Yeah, my name is Brett Thomas. I'm the Director of Player Development and Analytics at the University of Oregon. And a lot of echoes towards what Jordan said. Excited to be on, excited to learn, and can't wait to share a little bit.
Come on, Brett, you got a little bit more than that.
Played at the University of Oregon and actually used to work at Blast up until August of 2019. They upgraded with the hiring of you, John, so I'm stoked on that. But really wanted to give back to the program that helped build me, and just wanted to keep it rolling on that end. So really excited.
Well, certainly not an upgrade over here, but very excited to have you on today, man. Dusty, can we go ahead?
Yeah, Dusty Napoleon. Just finished my 5th year at Northwestern University. Played at the University of Iowa, and then went on to play a couple of years in the minor leagues with the Oakland Athletics, and then started my coaching career back at Iowa for a year, and then Western Illinois, Concordia, Chicago, until made it here to Northwestern. So really looking forward to spreading the good word here.
Really excited to have you, Dusty. Thanks for joining us. Max, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Max Gordon, volunteer assistant coach at the University of Michigan and hitting coordinator at Driveline Baseball. A little bit about me. I went to Oregon State University. What's up, Brett? Actually, I got to coach a little bit, trained Jordan for a minute, and I got to visit with Dusty as I was working with Driveline more in depth. So I've had the ability to compete or pick some brains or work with these dudes throughout. So really excited to be here on this panel with these dudes. But yeah, man, this is the end of my first, what we would call this, first 5 weeks of being a D1 baseball coach. yeah, it's been a trip, and excited to be on.
Great. We're excited to have you too, Max. This is, like I said, fantastic pedigree right here. It's people that really utilize Blast well within their organizations. Obviously, big-time Division I universities, and I think that we're going to get a lot of value out of just talking through what you guys do and how you utilize Blast. So, first question that I have for you guys, and I'll let it go around the room. We'll start with Dusty real quick. Is how do you utilize Blast? And originally, I guess, why did you originally come on with Blast, and how are you utilizing it now as a program?
Yeah. So it was the summer of 2018, and head coach Spencer Allen was actually meeting with a couple major league teams who were utilizing some different technologies, and so he really just wanted to see kind of what other teams were doing and see if we could utilize those in the college game. And Blast was a common theme between a couple different organizations, and I happened to actually be in San Diego at the time recruiting, and had an off day there, which is not a bad spot to have an off day recruiting in the summer. And so I got to go up to the facility and check it out and meet with you guys, and was just blown away. So summer of 2018 is really when it kind of started for us as a program, and from there, it was just there were some growing pains early. We were trying to gather a ton of data, really trying to figure out what we wanted to do with it, and until so it's going through the 2019 season. We were trying to educate the guys, and I think that was probably the biggest thing that we got through last year. And then kind of starting in this fall, we started to look at some things and how can we organize the data a little bit better. Blast Connect does a really good job for us, but just kind of looking through it, we had some analytic managers who came up with a website for us. So if you want to show that, right now we got a little video with that website. And I got to give a shout out to Walker Reinfeld, who was our analytic manager. And it's a cool tool for us to use. We can click through it. You can sort by player, date, start, end. And really for us to be able to track and see our guys getting better. We kind of picked the 5 metrics at the time that we thought were important, and kind of go through there. But you can see the monthly average tables, the team monthly averages, kind of where you rank in the team. And I think it was important for us to find a way to, show the guys kind of where they're at, and are they getting better, and are there drills that we're able to use more times than not that are getting the guys better. So really, this was a big format for us, to organize that data in a way, and we can add more metrics. And I think that was just kind of a starting point. So really, we kind of launched this. We worked on it through the fall, gathered more data, and then kind of launched it here at the start of the season. And I think it's just going to be a good tool going forward for our program, and able to, really speed up the development of some of our guys, and able to throw all the numbers that we're giving them out on something that they can really visualize. But I think the biggest thing for us that has really helped is just the education of what Blast can do for the guys, and guys really took ownership of it starting this fall when we started to do Blast days, right, where everything was going to be catered around a Blast day, and maybe certain stations were going to have different drills catered to different metrics, where they were just trying to, really compete against each other, or really just compete against themselves if they can get better that way. So, I think there's unlimited options when it comes to using Blast in a college program. And for us, it was unfortunate the season got cut short, because I really think we were making some big strides.
Thank you, Dusty. That's quite the presentation right there. Really cool to see how you guys utilize that. I know that people are going to be asking how do they get their hands on that, and unfortunately, that is copyright Northwestern right there. So that's not public, but I mean, it doesn't mean that not everyone can create that themselves, right? And go in and make something along those lines. And I think that's the cool part, is you can make it what you want it to be. To that point, Brett, would you like to go next and kind of share how obviously you have a history with Blast, how you came on, and then how you guys are using it now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I kind of mentioned, I came straight from Blast to the University of Oregon, and this was kind of a newer position that the new head coach, Mark Wazakowski, wanted to start implementing, kind of drive a little bit more towards numbers, get more direct feedback to some of the players and things like that. And one of the things that I told him was, sweet, I'm all for doing this if I get to pick what kind of technology I get to start using. And one of those right off the bat was going to be Blast, because I knew the most about it, because I had worked there for the last 3 years, and also I knew what it was capable of doing. So he was very kind of open and honest with everything, saying, yeah, go ahead and take the reins, which I'm grateful for. And that's kind of how we got started with it. And we used it a bunch. We used it a bunch in the fall, used it as much as we possibly could within reason, into not getting them too much analysis paralysis, but also putting them in the right environment so we can test them in the specific environment and see, okay, where's the breakdown, or where's the positive coming out of it? Because we can use this tool just as much from a positive side as maybe a not so positive side. That's kind of how we came about using it throughout the year. And if you want to go to the next slide, with the help of the guys over at Blast, we kind of started to put this stuff together for each one of our players. And this is from the last, we'll call it last week or last couple of weeks that they used it right before the season. And it's their average standard deviation type stuff, and then a simple definition of what the metric might be, but then also a little blurb on, hey, this is directly towards you. Because what we learned is most of our guys, as soon as we started talking about general stuff, they kind of started tuning out. This one isn't about me. This isn't about me. So the more specific that we could make it, the more buy-in that we got. So we started with load stuff, with early connection, because that's the start of the swing. And then for this hitter, he's more of a power type guy. So we wanted to focus on the power stuff next, and then the contact metrics, and then the impact metrics, and then kind of just see that trend going on. And what we're able to do right now is just kind of talk with these guys about it and show it to these guys. And it's almost been an entire year, but now it's starting to click. Now it's like, oh, that's what early connection is. That's what this is. And we've been using it for a long time, but they were in such compete mode that they didn't really want to break down their swings because they were kind of afraid of what the result was going to be. They didn't want to change the result, and they were kind of comfortable with that specific result. So this has really kind of opened their eyes to it. And huge shout out to you guys at Blast, Kyle, Jacob. I know there's probably a lot of other guys who kind of put this stuff together, but tried to put a little twist on it to make it specific for our program. And we've got a lot of positive reviews from it.
A lot of great stuff in there, Brett. Thanks so much. Paralysis analysis, right? That's a great term to combat that with specific ways to, actually approach a hitter and make sure that they understand what it is that they need to work on. That's great. Awesome. You want to go next?
Yeah,
Max?
well, I know.
Go ahead.
Well, I know I had analysis paralysis. I don't think Max did when he was playing, but I saw it enough. But I sure did, so that made it a little bit difficult. So it's words that I've had to live by for a little bit.
You wouldn't have had that if you were facing me. You got in the fastball and hit it out of the park. So you're good. Max, all you, man. Go for it. Love to hear how you're using it at Driveline and at Michigan. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity to get into the mind.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, at Driveline, it all started out very vanilla. Jason Ochart, he's the director of hitting at Driveline. He randomly ordered a blast sensor, and we started using it on a guy like once a week, and just like very poor job and effort of collecting data. And then, once we started getting a little bit more familiar, plenty of phone calls with some folks over at Blast, we started seeing how valuable and how much we could utilize it for every single guy. So that turned into buying iPads for the guys so they could have that immediate feedback right there in their face to make, adjustments when necessary. And it gives, the trainers and the coaches a way to just provide, like specific goals and specific settings, kind of like what Brett tapped on, just for like, hey, this is what I want you to focus on. You don't need to worry about learning every single metric that Blast provides, but I do want your bat speed to be, this number. It needs to be above 68, and after that, like, let's look at, you need to get your early connection score down. Like, you need to get down below 105 or something like that, so it makes it very easy for them to digest. You don't have to look at all of them, but you do need to accomplish at least these two. Once you get past these two, let's move on to something else. So it just makes it kind of nice for the guys. But yeah, that kind of evolved with Driveline. I mean, shoot, we've got 20 to 25,000 paired swings between Blast and Hit Track. So we've got Blast paired with batted ball data, and we're able to run a bunch of different studies. We found some really good correlations in player success between bat speed and rotational acceleration was getting its way in there as well. But I mean, obviously, the harder you swing the bat, the harder you're going to hit the ball. The harder you hit the ball, the more chance of success you're going to have. So really, that's the main one that I like to look at and make sure the guys are keeping up to par with is, is your bat speed up? And from there, it's like, okay, now let's start cracking some eggs and doing some different things. But as far as Michigan, Blast has helped a lot for, the time that we're in right now. So we've been using Blast and running that through Driveline's online platform called Track, and we've been able to write programs and kind of follow them along. It's pretty similar to what Dusty rolled out. Is we're able to track their metrics, see their numbers, set goals for them, and just kind of able to follow them along throughout their process and make sure that they're working in the right direction. But I think just for digestion purposes, I think the easiest way to get it across to a team has just been a whiteboard, just as simple as possible, and just write up like, hey, these are the metrics that you're going to be measured against your teammates, and this is where all of you stand. And then just, make it public, and the guy that's in last place gets to see that he's in last place. And, that's going to drive, hopefully a lot of people, at least a lot of competitors. They're not going to want to be in last place forever. So just, creating a little bit of that competition through Blast and a whiteboard is like really simple, and it's yielded some pretty good results, and just reminds guys that when they got that blast sensor on, like you're being monitored, you're being measured. So you're gonna have to hold yourself accountable and swing the bat hard. But yeah, that's kind of little info between the Driveline and Michigan views. But yeah.
Thank you. It's again incredible insight to a couple of very, very different settings, but similar at the same time. So thank you for that. That's really cool. Jordan, let's hear the Blast.
Yeah, so I came on as the just kind of like a hitting analyst with DBU in 2018, fall of 2018. When I came on, we only had 4 sensors at the time. We were kind of distributing those throughout guys, just kind of rotating them through. Me, myself, I didn't know much about Blast at the time, just knew that we had them, and it was a tool that we kind of used every once in a while. And as I kind of progressed there, I really wanted to learn more about it, and thanks to guys like Brett and Jeff with Blast, I got to learn a lot more. It went from using it occasionally to wanting to use it all the time, and really using it as a staple to learn the swing fingerprint of each guy. I think each guy here is probably going to touch on what they find important within the metrics, but for us, it was just to learn what the guy's bat is doing in space. And so for us, it was a real learning curve at first, but we got to see some of the relationships between the different metrics and learn more about that as it went on. And really, we started to utilize it as a tool to kind of programs Max talked about, giving them tangible goals to fulfill, and using the information that we were collecting to build drill packages for them to have a better education on how we were going to get these guys better and what direction we needed to go. So thanks to guys like Brett and Jeff, it made that process a lot smoother and a lot more educated than it was at the start.
Very cool. Thank you, Jordan. I think that's 4 different ways of using Blast in the team setting, and all are so cool to hear that you guys tell us and give your insight into that. I know that there are a lot of people out there that are going to be asking questions, and we're getting a few in right now. These are phenomenal questions. I can be able to get to all of them, but I want to move on to the next question, and it's really it's kind of maybe just a quick, brief summary real quick so that we can continue on is where have you guys seen the most value added in Blast? Is it saving time in practice? Is it focusing more on players' deficiencies or efficiencies and exacerbating those? Where are you guys finding some of the more or the real value? And I'll let you go first, Max.
I think for me, the main amount of value has been in just overall trust and buy-in. I think it's been really hard for players to argue with the numbers and the information, especially when you have a lot of evidence that backs what you're saying. So just being educated and then telling them that process of, not just the changes that they need to make, but also the reasons why they need to make them, and like why I'm asking you to hit this target metric. Like you need to be at this certain number for this metric in order for you to start yielding some good success. I think that's been kind of the main thing that's really attracted players to Blast, and to kind of like just overall like trust and buy-in purpose for what a coach is going to want to manipulate in a swing. Because I think that's where a lot of the problems happen is, if every single coach in the planet knew what all the Blast metrics truly meant, then they can all just like close their eyes and visualize players that they've worked with that have that exact metric. They just might have called it a little bit different something. So like just having that understanding where, like barrel tip, that's early connection for most people out there. When guys are like, oh, you're late with your barrel tip, that just means, hey man, you need a little lower early connection score. And like, here's how you can measure it. And I'm just going to set this iPad in front of you and let you go to work. I'm not going to say a word. I want you to just get that number down. So, I mean, I think that's been the easiest way, is just letting it be its own coach.
Awesome. It's that buy-in to the technology with saying the same thing, just maybe in a different way.
Yes, different language.
Yep. Jordan, how about you guys? Where's the most value for you guys coming from Blast?
I really like what Max said there. Just in regards to the data, it's super black and white. And I really like how he connected it to terms we've always known as coaches. I guess that was the fun part of the education process for me, was connecting the dots of the things that we had always heard from great hitting coaches, and putting it in a metric and score form. And so for us, I think the biggest value that we've got is making those drill packages that I was telling you about, kind of picking the low-hanging fruit and the obvious things that the guys are just simply lacking on. Max touched on bat speed. If guys don't have good enough bat speed at this level, like that's something we need to clearly address. And having the black and white metrics to show that helps with buy-in a ton. So I think we've gotten a ton from the drill packages and knowing what to work on specifically. I think understanding how guys' swings react in different environments as well. We've gotten to use it, off the tee, front toss, BP, off a live machine, and in game. And I think when you get to look at how the metrics react, or how the player swing reacts in all those different environments, you can learn a lot about the training environment and how that guy's swing is adjusting to each one of those environments as well. So I think we've gotten a ton of value out of all those things.
Very, very cool. Thank you, Jordan. Brett, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, don't want to sound like a broken record, but the same. We can speak the same language across the board, and by looking at those numbers, it's not barrel tip or something else or anything like that. It's, hey, we can all come to the fact that it's early connection, to use Max's example that we always really like. The other thing that we see is that it helps a player understand who they are. If we have a guy who is on plane for a really long time, hey, he's working on his bat speed and stuff like that, but he has a good attack angle. He's a guy who we envision hitting at the top of the order. We can help profile that guy to have him gain confidence into who he is, just like we would do it for a power guy. And that way they start to take accountability for that. And it's pretty cool once they start taking accountability for it, that they see, like, yeah, I am this person and I'm going to own it. And I'm going to have a group of guys on our team that are going to do that. And it just breeds competition at the end of the day for that. Like, yeah, we have guys who are on plane for a long time, which is sweet, but we have guys who can rotate really, really well. And those guys can start talking smack back and forth and competing against each other. And that's what you want at the end of the day, is that culture aspect to come into every sort of training. So it's been really cool to see that a little bit, and we're just going to look to grow on that.
Awesome. That culture is huge. Dusty, is same for you?
Yeah, I mean, kind of across the board there. And I think really once we started to get some game swing data, I really felt like the buy-in was there. Just so once we laid it out for the guys and like, hey, here's, pair it up with some batted ball data and here's your, exit velocity that are, over 100 miles an hour. And here's what the blast metrics say. Let's try to repeat that swing. So let's try to come up with drills, kind of what Jordan was saying in the drill package, where, hey, we can try to repeat our game swing as much as possible. And then, and really, we stole a drill from Driveline. It's probably Max that the guys had a lot of fun with in the fall and even in the spring, was when they're trying to guess their attack angle, right? And they really started to understand how their bodies move, so, a 6 pops up and it's like, okay, try to repeat. We're trying to stay in that range. And, and they get a low score and it's like, hey, next swing, they can make an adjustment, so, and I felt like that really helped the guys buy in, just the instant feedback there, and just them being able to really see it. And then they might feel something on their front side when we're trying to work, something with the attack angle, and it clicked for them. And it's like, okay, like the numbers, right, kind of wasn't trying to lead you there, but you got there because you were trying to work on something else. So I really just think like using in the live setting within the app, I think you can get some instant feedback and some success right away.
Very cool. Yeah, that live setting is really valuable. And again, for everyone out there, parents, coaches, players, guys, submit your questions to the comment section, please, if you have any for these guys. They have incredible insights into blast and baseball in general. So please feel free to submit those questions. Moving on, guys. The next question I just kind of want to pose to you guys and let you run with is how does using blast vary between the regular season and the off season? And I know that's definitely something that you guys have to deal with at the collegiate level when you guys lose your players for a while and you're sitting there and saying, okay, how do we use it or what do we do? So Jordan, do you want to start and kind of maybe lead us in on that one?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great ways to use blast, and I think regular season versus off season is one of the most important differences that we've had in using blast. In the off season, I feel like we, as a program, like to make a lot of adjustments. We're getting a lot of new guys. Everybody came off of summer ball and is looking to utilize that time to kind of revamp their swing in some way. So I think first is assessment. In the off season, we're using it to assess where guys are at. How did things go in summer ball? Or, if he's a new guy, see where he's at, different things like that. And then, obviously start to put together those drill packages that we were talking about. And we're using the data to kind of see where we're at with that drill package. Are we progressing in the right direction that we're looking to get out of the drills that we're doing? Can we use the feedback like Dusty talked about to get different feels for each guy and build that awareness? And so I think the off season is really good for that. In season, for us, it's more maintenance. If we've made the adjustments that we wanted to make to a guy's swing and the guy feels good, I think it's more of understanding what a guy does really well and getting him to do that as frequently as possible. So, I think that's one of the best uses of technology is, can we shorten the slump curve, right? So we all find those days that our players aren't hitting quite like we want to, or they're not feeling quite themselves. I think using blast is a great tool for that. and understanding like maybe there is something off. Is it my early connection? Is it my attack angle? Is it my connection at impact? You know, it could be a number of things, and I think it's really tangible evidence of what's going on in season. So
that's great. I'm sure you guys have very similar views on that. Now, Brett, do you want to share what your in season versus off season?
Yeah, this is going to be the first time for our program that we're going to have this stuff in the summer, and our plan is to kind of send it out if things go accordingly with everything that's going on, which is crazy, but and it's going to be a voluntary deal. If they want to use it, great, that's awesome. We have given them the tools to be able to use it and analyze it and get them to kind of we'll call it training wheels, or maybe taking the training wheels off a little bit. Then when they come back, we'll hit them with an assessment time period. And especially with the new guys coming in, like Jordan mentioned, we really want to start opening that dialogue with them and hoping that our returners will open up that dialogue with them too, so that the newcomers' learning curve will just increase just as quickly as the returners. And hopefully they'll start to coach themselves on it and coach each other on it, because that's when we know we got something special. So that's kind of what we're looking to do. But when we go in season, it becomes so result focused, right? It becomes so result focused on what we need to do on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday sometimes, that we just try to keep it a priority. And I guess it's my job to keep it a priority during this time, or during that time, because if a guy's struggling and it's a minor adjustment that he made in the fall that he might not be able to feel, we can use those numbers to be able to help with that.
Very cool. Revisit some of the highs through the data and get them back to those points. Yeah. Dusty, you want to go share?
Yeah, no, I was kind of go off of what Brett just said, and I think using the sensor, especially in season, right? And if you've done a good job in the off season of gathering a lot of data and seeing where the guys' metrics should be and when they've had success, I think in season when you use it, it takes the guesswork out of it. So if a guy is, struggling, maybe, a lot of times hitting coaches, right, at fault sometimes want to go straight to mechanics. I think if you're using the sensor, you can, be able to see like, okay, his metrics are lining up, everything's good. Okay, now let's start looking at, are you on time? Are you swinging at good pitches, right? And let's go there. So I think in season, it really gives the guys confidence. That's kind of what we've seen is, be like, hey, just kind of pump the guys like, hey, your metrics are good, right? Like, remember that ball you hit in the fall? Like, everything's lining up. You're good. Let's start swinging at better pitches. Let's start, being on time more. So I think, in season, that way it's really important.
Well said, Max. I know there's a couple different, pieces here, but maybe speak to the Michigan in-season, off-season.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, as far as the off-season, just like all these guys have mentioned and made great points, the assessment piece of it is huge, and getting a guy back in the fall and just kind of assessing on where they are based on the their blast numbers is really important. But I mean, also in the off season, it's a good tool, and I really like to think of it in the off season as like an actual training tool, like something you would use in a weight room to just increase bat speed. Because again, like bat speed, we're finding is the best correlation in terms of like what we can truly measure as a hitter for like in game success. And if we can get a guy swinging as hard as he possibly can and like raise that ceiling as much as he can, then when he actually backs off and takes himself down to like an in-game under control, like normal baseball player swing, it's going to be faster, so that's a lot of the idea behind it, is using it as a training tool to watch and measure yourself and just try and get as much speed as you possibly can. And to all those coaches out there that are saying, I'm going to have kids falling all over the batter's box. Yeah, it's true. But just remember, like, that's not what we're going to be asking them to do in a game when they're trying to hit. When it's time to hit it, you got to be a hitter. So just raising that 100% level. So, you know, if your bat speed's at 70, you want your 100% to try and get up to 75. So when you back off to your in game, which might be like a 90% swing, you know, it's going to be faster. It might not feel like you're having to do more or try harder, but it will be working faster at like your normal RPE. And then as far as like in season goes, it's a good way to monitor and make sure the guys are kind of like trying to keep the boat on course, really, you know, just make sure that everything is staying kind of like what everybody else talked a little bit about, is just, you know, like shortening that slump cycle, you know, like, can we get you back on track as quickly as possible? Or, you know, like what minor tweaks and adjustments can we make during the season that's not going to totally throw your entire bat off? So just really try and keep the boat steering towards the end goal. And, you know, it might also give a little bit of information if you got a high spin rate fastball pitcher coming in and we need a pinch hit, like probably going to sit that dude with a higher the connection score down, you know, might go with somebody else. Or if we got a sinker baller, might go vice versa there, you know. So it gives you a little bit of a tool in your toolbox for like what you might want to call or substitute, you know, in game. You know, of course, every player and person is different in terms of their attitude, you know, how they can handle that. But if you got the same dude with two different swings, you know, there's a chance that you could actually end up putting yourself in a better position, you know, by picking the swing that would suit the pitch that's coming in.
That's next level right there. Matching the approach angle of the fastball with a guy's actual swing and where they would most succeed. I think that's where baseball's headed. That's really cool that you brought that up, Max. Thank you. And to that point, I think it leads us segues into the next question, and we're going to start getting into the meat of this real quick. Is, you know, we have such valuable pedigree here, as I've said many times, and I want to ask you guys specifically, like, if you were to point out one or two metrics, or maybe it's four, but like, what are the metrics that you guys find are the most important that correlate the most to success on field, right? Like, what is the number that you guys go, this is what we need every player to be perfect or great in, and then maybe talk to that number, what correlates with that a little bit for a second. And Max, you touched on bat speed. Maybe I'll let you take the floor to start, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the easiest ones to digest, and for me, the ones that I want to look at first are going to be bat speed. Like how hard can you swing? Do we need to change that? Do we need to make that better? And attack angle. Like at what angle are you swinging the bat through space or like into contact? Oftentimes you'll get a lot of guys with low attack angle, and that's just a really easy, like low hanging fruit to just pick up and be like, hey man, you're swinging at a +2, like let's get closer to 7. You know, it just makes it really easy for the guys to understand and manipulate, and just like teach them how we're not trying to create a loopy or uphill or whatever you want to call it, launch angle swing, whatever it is. All we're trying to do is like match the plane of the pitch and just make a good head-on flush contact with the baseball. So I think those are the two easiest ones. And if I want to dive in a little bit deeper, I would most likely look towards connection scores. I really like to look and make sure that guys are making contact in a good position and like rotating around their spine well, and they're also launching from like a good position where they can kind of use their spine to manipulate swinging at different heights of the zone.
Thank you. Dusty, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah. I think attack angle and bat speed are probably our two biggest ones. Then, you know, I think a third one just to throw in there would be time to contact. You know, you start to get a guy with a good attack angle and high bat speed who has a chance to wait as long as possible to make a decision to swing the bat. I think that's a dangerous dude right there. So I think trying to lower the time to contact, trying to get that closer to, you know, at least for us, kind of what we've seen, you know, the low 0.14s, high 0.13s, those guys have had a lot of success for us hitting college pitching. So high bat speed, good attack angle in between that, you know, 6 to 10 range, and then guys who, you know, can wait as long as possible to make a good swing decision. Those guys have had good success for us.
Dusty, have you found that there's another metric that maybe correlates directly to time to contact? Like, is there something that you see that maybe would push a hitter in that direction, like rotation or something?
Yeah, I think a little bit with rotational acceleration. Guys who rotate at a high level with elite speed there can really shorten up that decision time. We're still kind of diving into some of that, but those three right there, maybe mixed in with a little bit of acceleration scores, definitely for sure.
Cool. Brett, I'm sure you got some awesome stuff to talk to here. Let's floor it yours.
Yeah. For myself and probably for our staff, our early connection is a huge piece for us. If you're not in a good position as you start to turn or as you start to rotate, it's kind of a domino effect, in our opinion, of what's going to happen next. So that kind of makes it difficult. So we want to make sure that that's cleaned up and consistent from the beginning. I say consistent because maybe a short-term deal is we make them really, really consistent, and then a long-term deal, we gradually get them into a zone where they're going to be able to hit 2/3 of a zone instead of a third or a quarter. So that's kind of how we try to break it down. The next piece, to echo a little bit of what the guy said, is attack angle, because we want to make sure that the direction of their barrel is matching the direction of that specific pitch. That's going to give them a chance. Right, it's going to give them a chance more than swinging down or swinging too far up. And seeing the game attack angles versus practice attack angles is really eye-opening for us. And just trying to correlate and understand why it might be a little bit higher or a little bit flatter in a game versus practice, and how can we bridge that gap? How can we shrink that down to make it a little bit more digestible for them? So maybe that's an internal cue for them in a game or in a practice, instead of a mechanical change, because it's going so fast we don't want them to start thinking. So those would be the top two for us.
And I guess I could ask the whole room real quick, like just maybe a yes or a no. Are you guys finding that you value the game data more than practice data? Is that more valuable to you guys than the practice stuff?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. And Jordan, I'd love to hear what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think they hit on just about everything. I really like what Max had to say with bat speed. I think it's like a building block to kind of everything else. But the other guys had great points as well with attack angle. We want to be on the plane of the pitch as long as possible. I saw a great clip of John Malley talking about in order to know the swing, you got to know the pitch path first. If you want to know the swing path, you got to know the pitch path. And that's what attack angle is going to tell us. Are we on the same plane as the pitch coming in? And I think a lot of guys get surprised with their attack angle. I think the first couple times, and maybe you guys can attest to this, that guys see their attack angles. I think they get surprised that either it's too low or too high. And the guys that know it's pretty flat have a pretty good awareness of their swing to begin with. So I think that's a great tool. One I'll touch on that these guys probably like as well is on plane percentages. I think we want to be on plane for a really long time. And I know we've started to find that guys that make a lot of contact can be out front, be behind, and still, foul pitches off or hit a line drive into left or right. They have a long on plane percentage score, high score with on plane percentage. So I think they all contribute to good swings, and guys are going to have, different swing fingerprints all across the board, but all of them contribute in some way, and a lot of them, like Max said, are building blocks to becoming an elite hitter.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I talk about this every single day. I don't think I could have said it any better than you guys just did. That's awesome. So I guess the next question, and this is also a kind of a deep dive in, is how are you guys? Maybe not in particular your program. If you want to speak to that, please feel free to. But how has Blast and technology in general kind of changed the land of recruiting? And where do you guys see that kind of going in the next 5 years or so with the technology, maybe college and professionally? Dusty, you wanna maybe talk to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think get ton of emails every day, and you know, guys who have metrics in there who, you know, that we're more familiar with, right? Everybody knows the 60 and exit below and things like that. You start to add, you know, a blast metric in there, maybe some other platforms, TrackMan, things like Rapsodo, like all those other platforms in there, right? You start to separate yourself a little bit as far as kind of where you're trying to take your career. You know, and I think really, like, it's important once you start to really dive into those things, because now we can start looking at, you know, how guys' metrics stack up. Just talking blast specifically here to our guys, right, or where their metrics lining up. And so I think, you know, with all the different recruiting events out there, they're starting to. I know you guys have partnered with some good organizations, and I know it's going to start growing there. And I really think it's going to help us, right? Like, once you start to understand the data and what you're looking for, and you can really start to fit guys into certain buckets of what you need. You know, it's easy to go find a you know, a shortstop. Everyone picks it, but you know, trying to find that guy that you want to model after maybe a current guy you have, or maybe a tick better. You can start to look at blast numbers, right, to see where that guy meets up there. So I'm really excited about it. I think just the more information that we have as college coaches, and when we start recruiting kids, the better for everybody.
Hey, Jordan, how about you guys at DBU?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo a lot of the same things. You just get a better picture of what a kid's like. Obviously, I think it's always a really cool sign when guys are taking ownership of their careers and can get you stuff, you know, from Rapsodo, TrackMan, and especially Blast, just so we can get a better idea of what they're doing, you know, as a player. But, you know, for them to take accountability themselves in their growth and know how they're progressing, and using real feedback to do that, I think that's a really big plus for us. We want to develop, you know, development-minded guys, so I think that's a really good fit for us. But I think you see it all over the place. D1 Baseball just partnered up with Driveline. PBR did the same. Guys need technology to kind of get real tangible results, just like the 60 and the radar gun has been around for so long. Things like Blast, tools like that are going to help us get a better idea of what's really going on, and just give us a better idea of what kind of player we're truly getting.
That's very, very cool. Thank you. Brett, can you kind of build off that, or is it kind of an echo?
Yeah, the only other thing I'd add is with guys kind of committing earlier in their careers, it gives you a great opportunity to see how they're progressing, not only from a development standpoint, but you're going to be able to see those numbers, those season stats and everything. But okay, are they putting that work in? Are they trying to improve? So being able to see that and build that relationship with them, that kind of lets you know that you have the right kind of kid, and that's awesome. And it's a huge component, especially when things are going so early on. You just want to understand both and have that relationship with them, that those are your expectations and they embrace those expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. Max, is it more the same? I mean, you have such valuable insight.
Yeah, it's very similar to kind of what these guys touched on. I think it can give coaches that are really good at the art of coaching and skill development. I think it can give them a handful of players that all they need is to just get their hands on them and get them to click. You know, those guys that maybe have really high bat speeds, but they're just terrible hitters, and you know, they just need to learn how to hit. You know, then it gives that coach the ability to find that guy that's the diamond in a rough that, you know, just needs a little polishing in order to just turn into an absolute monster. Or there's the same thing on the other side. You know, this kid's got a great swing, and you know, he's on plane, he's got a great attack angle, his connection scores are perfect, but he's just a little guy, and you know, maybe he needs to just hit the weight room and just keep everything the same, and you know, we can build a monster that way too. So I think these guys really touched on it and did a good job. But that's the only real other way I can kind of digest it for you.
Yeah, no, that's really cool because it reminds me of one of the questions that I think a lot of people want to ask you guys, and they don't have the platform to do so. And that's really, who do you recruit? Do you recruit the guy that has the perfect gold swing, but maybe not the bat speed, who's a young player, and you guys can maybe build that strength and foundation underneath him? Or do you recruit the guy who's got the bat speed, but you just don't know about the other pieces, the consistency, and with Blast seeing that, like, where do you guys tend to fall on that scale? I think it could be just a quick, we go this way, or it could be a long, that's not an easy answer. Brett, do you want to start that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best to start because I don't go out and recruit. We'll have guys come in and do some camps and stuff like that. And,
Right.
I'll be able to help from a numbers standpoint there, but just it's always gonna help. But I mean, I don't have the best answer for you because I'm not out there at those tournaments and all that stuff. So I do apologize for
That's
that.
fair. Dude, that's totally fair. Thank you for being honest. Dusty, do you want to maybe take that one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hybrid of a little bit of everything, right? I think, there's obviously different cases, but I think the guys at the Division I level, a lot of them, the top hitters have elite bat speed, right? So I think, that metric right there is going to stand out. And then I think everything else is just going to back up kind of what you see, right? So you're going to need to get, 10, 15, 20, maybe more at bats on guys. So I definitely think, seeing the guy, pairing it up with the data that you can get from a Blast or TrackMan or one of those other platforms, I think it's huge, right? You just start to piece it together and try to pair it to guys that have been successful not only on your team, but also if you have that information in the league, and can kind of see, hey, this is where this guy was at. He's been successful that way. But I really think that once you're out on the road and you're watching guys, you still got to see, like, can this guy hit? Can he adjust off speed? Like what type of baseball player is he? Besides just looking strictly at the data, but I definitely think it helps a lot.
Very cool. Yeah, can't forget the athlete, the intangibles. Jordan, do you have anything there?
I'm much like Brett, where I'm kind of behind the scenes helping the coaches who are out in the fields doing the recruiting work. But I'm going to echo a lot of what Dusty said. I think when you get a look at a player and you really like what he's doing and you have the data to back it up, I think that can help the recruiting process a ton. We're all just looking for hitters and guys that can do it on a regular basis, and guys that we can get our hands on and develop. So I think understanding what they're doing at the plate, what their bat's doing in space, and understanding what kind of player you're looking for, and if your eyes match the data, just gives us a better idea of if we can take them in and really develop them into the hitter that we think they can be.
Awesome. You'd be a good politician, Jordan. Max, anything out of Driveline or Michigan? I mean, maybe using some of those the resources there to see so many players in one place and come to a conclusion about who you might want to recruit at Michigan, or totally up in the air?
I mean, yeah, I'm same boat as Brett and Jordan. Volunteer, so I'm also behind the curtain. But I think if it's me personally, and I've got to pick between one guy or the other, I'm gonna grab the guy with speed. Now, if I had to pick a whole team for one guy or the other, I'm gonna grab the guy that's technically sound and he can actually hit. Because it's going to be it might be an absolute nightmare to clean up, 20 hitters and teach them all how to hit at the same time. That's just, that's an educational nightmare. But teaching 3 or 4 guys that have ridiculous speed to be really good hitters, I think speed's a lot harder to develop. You can ask Jordan, I'm good at yelling. I can yell at dudes in the weight room, get them stronger. Like that's not a problem. Like I can get you a lot stronger, but like creating a lot of speed, like that's a whole different monster. It just takes so much longer. You got to go in the weight room, you got to do all these different things. Like speed takes a while, and then you got to get it to translate to in game, and then you have to, so there's all these different phases of it. But if you've already got the speed, now we just got to learn how to hit. So, just being able to get that across to a handful of dudes, I think that's where I would land. But if it's the whole team, I want hitters, man. Give me some hitters.
Very cool. Guys, I think we're kind of wrapping up here. We're coming to the end, and I just want to say, thank you so much again for your time joining us and taking some time out of your day to share your thoughts on Blast and just on technology and representing your prestigious organization and the universities that you guys coach at. We're really pushing this remote coaching deal right now because we're all stuck inside. We're in this together, and it is a way to interact and stay with your players. It's a way to stay engaged, keep players engaged and active, and we love to coach, and I think we all love to give back and help guys, and that's a way to do that in this time. And then moving forward, when this all lifts and everything goes back to normal, I think that it'll be a great tool to stay engaged with players when they go home for the summers, like we talked about, and just keep in touch and monitor. And again, guys, anyone watching, please feel free. We'll get to these questions. We will answer them after this is all over in the comments section, and we'll get back to you guys. We appreciate you reaching out and asking questions. And I just can't thank you guys enough for joining us today here at Blast. We're honored to have you, and we love that we can say that you guys use Blast and do it so well. And like I said, I work with it every day, and I learned a lot today. So hopefully everyone out there watching learned a lot. And next week, guys, we're going to be back here on the webinar again. We're going to have some minor league hitting coaches come on and talk about the way that they use Blast. So again, more valuable insight into the minds of people who are using this really well. And that's all I got. So thanks so much, and have a great night.
Yeah, thanks for having us, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.